This is the Cover 3 Tailgate. And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Bud Elliott. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat where they know. You see those sirens in your feed. You know exactly what that means. A whole hit list of names, Bud, that it could have been. We figured it would be a Siren Sunday, and here we go, 2:10 p.m. as we are coming to you live as the news had been confirmed. Shout out to Matt Zenitz, Richard Johnson, our friends, our colleagues here at CBS Sports. They were on it. I know they'd been working this story to be able to get the confirmation. We knew there would be assistant coaches meetings. We knew there would be team meetings. And now we know that Florida has, in fact, decided to fire Billy Napier. Lots to get to here as we react to the news in real time, including, what the domino effects that are going to be here, candidates to watch, and whether this will be the only firing that we have here on Sunday, October the 29th. But there's no surprise here. I will pose it like this. Do you think any performance against Mississippi State could have changed this outcome? The timing, of course, being heading into the off week before you go into the cocktail party game against Georgia.
No, I think this was done after the USF game. And it's been done
wow.
for weeks.
Okay. Because of just the conversations that had been happening in that game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's people I trust thought this was done after USF. I look, do you know that 100%? No, that's what I tend to think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the 1-3 start, certainly there was some, some evidence right there that would have said, this is not going to end with the kind of season. A team that comes in ranked inside the top 15, top 20, talented roster that really, because of injuries, we've never really gotten seen at its full strength. But after a 1-3 start with that loss to South Florida, then perhaps the idea that this would even get to a 9-3 type season was just, obviously right out the window before you'd even gotten into the thick of SEC play. How would you categorize Billy Napier's tenure at Florida?
I would say probably fits and starts, right? Certainly some promise. I think there were maybe a lot of big picture things that Billy did well at Florida, but ultimately was probably doomed by not correctly assessing his strengths and weaknesses, meaning I don't think he's anything special as an offensive coach. I think he's a very good recruiter. I think he's probably a pretty good assembler of staff. And maybe one of the things he should have assembled was a play caller ultimately, and to take away the keys from himself of the offense. It was a tenure, really just kind of hallmarked by dumb penalties and just in sometimes nonsensical play calling with some of the trick plays. A tenure that, at times they looked really damn good. And this could have potentially been the year. I think there was a path to that. Maybe if Lagway was healthy during the offseason and got real reps with his young receivers who also, were not really healthy this offseason. But you really spent, I think, a lot of your political capital last year. And they already did the thing where, hey, if you win out or come close to winning out, we'll bring you back for 2025. I don't think Florida was willing to put up with that again for 2026, especially because Lagway did not really show any progress from last year to this year, probably due in no small part, to be honest, due to the injury. So, yeah, I think there were some things he did well, but it's Florida, and you need to win more games. You can't have a losing record at Florida in, 4 years, 5 years, however long this tenure was. That's just not going to get it done. But ultimately, just not good enough.
4 fired head coaches since Urban Meyer for the Gators in Gainesville. That would be Will Muschamp, Jim McElwain, Dan Mullen, Billy Napier. I'm not going to give you the blind ranking because I've obviously just told you all 4. Let's rank them. Failed Florida tenures. Where does Billy Napier stack up against those other 3?
Are we ranking like who was the best or who was like the most like amazing failure? Because like McElwain got fired for like fake death threats, right? And had the shark thing and a bunch of other stuff like that.
Allegedly, the shark thing, allegedly.
I'm not saying he was not the guy in the shark photo, but the shark thing were questions surrounding his tenure. There was a shark thing. It was actually not him, but it was kind of wondered about. All right, so McElwain 1, Mullen 2.
Mullen's 2020 team was
good. It was quite good.
And that was a coach him up special. That was Kyle Trask, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
because it was Felipe Franks, and then they put in Kyle Trask. Like, oh, this guy's much better than Felipe Franks. Let's use him. How would you stack 3 and 4?
See, I think that
or Billy's 2. Or is Billy 3?
Billy didn't have that much success. Relative, I mean, so McElwain made SEC championship games. Mullen made an SEC championship game. The Muschamp thing was about the offense, but they still had dudes on defense. Yeah. I think that this is, in terms of, if I was to rank them with 1 being good, I think Billy Napier's either 3 or 4.
Makes sense.
Yeah, along the way. I mean, there was some. It is. I was talking with somebody who's covered Florida for a long time. This was actually a couple weeks ago, but it's like, first you get the defensive guy, and you complain that he doesn't have an offense. So then you get an offensive guy, and he's totally out of touch with the fan base in Gainesville. So then you get a guy from the SEC who's got a relationship with your athletic director, and he doesn't recruit. So then you go and you get the recruiter, and the recruiter can't coach. But why can't Florida have it all? Why can't Florida be able to get the offense and the defense and the recruiting and hey, let's just go ahead and spin it here. Because we've known that Billy Napier's on the hot seat and that a change might be there, let's dive in. Candidates for the Florida job, which, how about this? Florida and Penn State are both open. Florida's a better job?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. But, I mean, small, right? Small margin. I don't think Florida's a way better job than Penn State. Florida has won 3 national titles since Penn State last won its national title. So, I think Florida is a better job. The SEC is also, it's easier to get fired at Florida than it is at Penn State, right? Now, anybody taking one of these jobs considers themselves to be an alpha. So they don't really think about the floor. They just think about what could be for the most part, right? And what could be is, I'm going to get super rich and I'm going to have a shot to win a title. And I think it's more likely you can win a title at Florida if things are going well, right? Just the ability to get that level of player, specifically out of high school, to be a like upper level blue chip ratio team, I do think is higher at UF slightly over Penn State. I think, like, to me, there's 3 guys I would really take a look at here. Okay, Lane Kiffin. I think they're going to make Lane Kiffin say no.
Right.
I know there's probably some old Florida boosters who don't like some of the antics, but the guy's done a nice job at Ole Miss. And if you're Florida, you really miss scoring some points.
God, man, he had that team ready to go yesterday.
That was wild. Which brings me to my other point. Like, think about a candidate like a Glenn Schumann. Just quick kind of like side chatter here. Did Glenn Schumann forget how to coach defense in one offseason? Or has Georgia just done a poor job of deciding who to keep and who to let walk in the transfer portal? I just think the most important thing for Florida or anyone hiring this year is that you stop doing these super long guaranteed contracts. NFL teams don't do this. There's no NFL coach you're like, oh, now we got this guy, we're Super Bowl bound, right? There's no Major League Baseball managers like, oh man, now that we got Dave Roberts, we're gonna go win the World Series. It's a players-based sport now, and you need to treat it as such, just like the pros do. 4 or 5 year contract, okay? That's all you need to give if you're the Gators. You want to pay them $10 million a year? That's fine. But, like, you don't need to be doing this 10-year crap. It looks good for the AD, but it's a major principal agent logic problem, right? Is that actually in the best interest of the school? No. If things are going well, he's very likely to stay. What job are you leaving Florida for? Well,
what if the AD has the same agent as the coach?
Well, right. Now, that is absolutely a major conflict of interest, and it's something that happens quite a bit. Or at least they're at a sister agency,
Yeah. It might not be the same agent, but they might have offices that have business interests that are aligned.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I think you make Lane say no.
Right.
I mean, he's going to score points. He knows the state. Obviously, he knows the program. Does he want to leave Ole Miss? I don't know. Can you get away with being quirky at Ole Miss in a way that you might not be able to at Florida?
No, excuse me. Let me say that. You can, if you are Lane Kiffin, I think that you can get away with being quirky anywhere in America.
Is it because he has Florida by the balls at this point?
Leverage, yes. They've had fever dreams about him for more than 12 months. And I just really think that he's hit that point in his, I mean, you got Miss Terry. Like Miss Terry is up on College Game Day, and Miss Terry's like, well, what about our baby coaches like Kirby and Lane? Well, you know what the difference between those two is? Kirby's got national championships, but Lane still gets mentioned in that class, even though he does not have SEC championships, even though he does not have national championships, because he's just Lane Kiffin, you know? I think the cult of personality, the force of personality around Lane Kiffin allows him that if he shows up in Gainesville, Florida will let him be Lane Kiffin. I think that is my bet right now.
I would agree with that. Yeah. So I think he's probably one. It's probably like Drinkwitz and Jed Fish, 2, 3. You know, if you think about it, if you're Eli, you have done a great job embracing NIL, right? You score points. You have done a great job of hiring coordinators when you've lost your coordinators to bigger programs. You probably want to get to a point where you're not losing coordinators to bigger programs. You're only losing coordinators to head coaching jobs. I also think it's worth pointing out, much like some of these guys who were early adopters of the portal and now other teams have caught up both in terms of portal hunting and in terms of increased retention, Missouri and Eli were really like on the forefront of NIL use and NIL adoption, right? And being creative in that and being willing to spend and not pretend like there's, you know, pearl clutching and all this kind of stuff. Now the sport has somewhat caught up. I do think Missouri still has a strong NIL program. They're not lacking there. It's just other people have closed the gap, right? For a while, Missouri was one of the best NIL teams in the SEC, and they are still a very good one. But I don't think that they have this edge over maybe like half the teams out there that they once did. So is it going to be harder to sustain this at Missouri, especially now that you have the 9-game conference schedule coming? I think potentially. So like if I'm Eli, I'm looking to get out. If I can get to a place that I think is an awesome place, which, you know, Florida when it's at its best can be. It's also a place with a lot of pressure, you know, and a lot of weird stuff. Not like weirdo stuff.
I don't think you need to spell doom and gloom for the future of the Missouri football program.
No, 100%.
While also acknowledging Eli Drinkwitz is just a good ass coach. That when we're just like ranking coaches who seem to get it and seem to be able to get results in this modern era, then yeah, Eli Drinkwitz is going to be out there on that list. He's going to be able to do a lot of the things that you want. And I don't think that you're breaking hearts to say that if I am someone who, you know, like he's from where he's from, but man, he's coached all over the place. You know,
right.
We're not going to do he's tied to one specific place. If I'm sitting there at Missouri and Florida calls, I take the conversation. So
100%. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll call Marcus Freeman, just say, hey, how are you doing? Right. Yeah.
So, you know? I think that is Lane, Eli, Jed Fish at Washington, of course, somebody who is a University of Florida alum, somebody whose first coaching job, I believe, was a GA for Steve Spurrier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he told us, yeah, this isn't a bad thing. I mean, like he was telling us, in Las Vegas about the annual trips he still does with his college buddies. You know, you think those golf trips with his college buddies are filled with people who don't love the Florida football program?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and would love to see him be able to go get a shot at it. I think Jed Fish is another good shout. And if you're Florida, because you're Florida, all of these names are at least worth taking the temperature and having those conversations before you start to advance. Because remember, a job is never offered until it's accepted, right, Bud?
That's correct. Yes.
That is correct. So that way they were always our first choice. But yeah, whether it's an outright conversation, an outright interview, or just kind of back channeling this thing, I don't know, man. A completely uninvested observer, except for covering the story. Those are 3 good options. Like if I'm the University of Florida and I felt like those are good potential choices, then I don't feel bad about moving on from Billy Napier. And maybe you needed to just to go ahead and get those conversations going.
I think if you're a Florida fan, you have some trepidation because they don't have a president, because they don't have a dean of the law school, because they don't have a dean of the medical school right now. They have an interim president. There are a lot more bigger, not bigger, but like similarly large things that the president has to tackle. This has been left in the hands of Scott Strickland, the athletic director. And, given that he has not been good at hiring coaches at Florida so far, for the most part, you probably are like, do you really trust him to make the correct hire? I don't know. Maybe. Like if you had a non-interim president, is Scott Strickland still around? They won in basketball. You know any Florida fans who are still real happy today because the basketball thing? I don't. Like
so I do. Her name is Jacqueline D'Agostino, and
okay.
she lives that shit, man.
That's fair.
Hey, when you were a Dazzler, you were sitting there courtside for all the basketball games. I think she was there for the 2014 run. I think was when she was in school, but that's a whole nother question. We'll get Jacqueline and Jake to weigh in on the Florida coaching search for the Cover 3 podcast soon. You did not mention a name. You know which name you did not mention?
No.
James Franklin.
Oh, I don't think Florida fans would be happy to have James Franklin at all, man.
Wow.
I mean, you play a lot more big-time games in the SEC than you do in the Big Ten, and his record in big games is awful.
Are you sure that's a James Franklin thing and not a Penn State thing?
Well, so if you think he has poor game management, now that the sport is a lot tighter, that means he's having to make more critical decisions more times per year.
I thought that we had come to a point with James Franklin that the big game James sticks because there is still a win-loss record, but I do not remember in the last 3 years as many just truly baffling decisions made by James Franklin. Conservative,
yeah.
Sure. But I don't know if there's been a lot of like 3-4 years ago, you'd have like, what is he doing right now? Like the clock is running. Don't you realize what's happened? I don't anecdotally have on my mental notepad a long list of that continuing to be something that would stick with him. If I was a Florida fan, I think James Franklin's a pretty good hire. That's somebody who was successful in the SEC at Vanderbilt and somebody who's won a whole lot of ball games. And look, you might need to have, maybe James Franklin's not your national championship winner, but maybe James Franklin gets you a hell of a lot closer than Billy Napier was.
Yeah, but I don't think if you're Florida, you want to hire a guy who doesn't have a national championship ceiling.
Okay.
Like it's hard to fundraise off that. I don't think UF fans would be very happy, and UF boosters would be happy to have James Franklin, right? If you think you are a better job than Penn State, you don't go hire the guy Penn State just fired. Also, and I think James Franklin would do a really good job at a lot of programs. He doesn't score points. And Florida fans, they don't want to sit in those steel bleachers in the swamp in September and watch these 13-10 games. But I get it. Like the guy's track record is really solid. It's a lot easier to say, hey, we don't lose games we shouldn't, than actually go out there and do it. He does up until this year, very rarely have letdowns.
So Florida State head coach James Franklin.
I mean, if he wants to come for cheap, I just think I don't know.
Because losing the games you shouldn't lose
is a job there. I mean, like there's a reason I took Stanford money line, right? Like
it's called hedging happiness.
Yeah, Norvell's doing a really bad job. And when you're out spending most of your conference foes by like 40 or 50%, like that's inexcusable. I think there's a lot of folks who will have success at FSU.
Yeah, because Franklin is offering that, like, well, we're not going to lose to Stanford. We're not going to have these horrendous losses down the line. Okay. We'll get to more dominoes and other expectations here in just a second after we hit a break. So let's say they strike out. Let's say Auburn. Well, actually, that's more the dominoes. But let's say for whatever reason, Lane says, I'm going to hang at Ole Miss. Gets a brand new deal, a huge investment, and he's like, man, I just like being me in Oxford. And maybe Drinkwitz looks at Florida and looks at the leadership situation and. Then all of a sudden says, well, there's other jobs that are open and I think I would be a better fit, or I would like going somewhere else. And maybe Jed Fish goes to the NFL, or if maybe there's another job out there that does end up, being a little bit more attractive. So So what does it go? Where does it go after that?
I mean, I think Golesh does a really good job.
Oh.
I don't think Florida wants to go G5, but like I think he does well, man. You know, I do.
I think the scars of hiring
they
a Sun
recruit
Belt
high school.
I think the scars of hiring a Sun Belt coach is going to prevent hiring a head coach from the American, even if that's
agreed,
not fair.
But
to
should
Golesh.
it? But should it?
Mm,
Like, do you think that's a smart way to go about things?
no, I don't.
Agreed. Because you know what? Once upon a time, Urban Meyer was a Group of 5 coach too, guys.
I know.
And Steve Spurrier was at Duke, which really just should have been a G5 program for all intents and purposes. Like when they took Spurrier from Duke, Duke was literally moving their home games against FSU and taking a check to move them to neutral sites. You can look it up. Like they were playing Duke home games in Orlando, Florida for money. Like the 2 best coaches in your history were basically G5 or glorified G5 coaches before they came to you. Golesh also coached for Tennessee.
Should and would are different, you know?
Yeah.
So, all right, let's hit a break and then
you take a look at Lashley. Like I'm trying to think of like other guys here. Like Lashley would be interesting. I don't think SMU is going to let him go. I mean, I think Summerall is really good, to be honest. But again, they're not going to go G5 from Louisiana. It's just too on the nose for what they did with Billy.
Lane Kiffin, James Franklin, Jed Frisch, Eli Drinkwitz, Marcus Freeman. I'm with you on the you call.
You call Jeff Brom.
Rhett Lashley. What about Brent Key?
Yeah, probably. I think Key does a really good job in the underdog role. Georgia Tech's not a real easy place to win at. He's doing a nice job there. My question with Brent Key is, like, is he the best coach on that staff or is it Buster? Like, am I getting Buster? Is Buster the secret sauce there? Because I think it might be.
It's a good question.
And I think Brent's a good coach. I do. But, like, if you could take one coach off that staff, who are you taking? Because I'm taking Buster.
I don't know. Brent Key kind of seems like a tone setter for the program, but that's,
Oh, yeah. No, and like he talks about it. Like he's got a bunch of big people on staff. Like he wants to have, big physical guys.
All right. Let's hit a break and then we'll do some domino predictions. Coming up on the other side. So Florida's open. Penn State's open. Who's next? What are we on the lookout for? And more next.
Only CBS Sports can bring you big time during the heart of Saturday afternoons. It's big time.
It's big time. It's big time. It's big time.
On CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
No way Brian Kelly could go sidestep to Gainesville, right?
I don't think so.
That'd be tough.
Would you want Brian Kelly after what he's done in the SEC?
No, yeah. I think that's just a tough sell. Hey, look, I know it didn't go well at LSU, but this time, this is going to be the fit. Now, I think that his stock price is a little bit tough. Brian Kelly, who, probably was on lists that when this job was open for Billy Napier. But, yeah. So Florida's open. Florida State, what's going to happen now that Mike Norvell's 0-4 in the ACC and has won just one conference game since the conclusion of the 2023 season?
I mean, we said, 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, that it's done. They're just going to figure out when to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stanford may move that timeline up, right? I don't think they really wanted to have to do it this year or this week. I mean, they're boxed up and ready to move into the football-only facility. So, and I believe that's tomorrow. So, do you want the symbolism of that?
I mean,
for the photo ops, you going to let Norvell move into the football facility, or are you going to pull the plug today or tomorrow morning? That's my thought.
Yeah. I mean, clean slate, fresh start.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that way you can message, hey, we're serious about this. We won the lawsuit against the ACC. We got the stadium done. We have the new building done. Our address, we're still in the state of Florida. You should be able to recruit here if you actually put effort into it.
All right. What about Auburn?
So here's my question on this. if you're Freeze and you want to coach again in the sport, you don't really want to get fired, right? Obviously, you're battling the cancer stuff, right? The health stuff. Do you do basically like a medical, like hey, let's talk about this buyout. Let me walk away once I get healthy again, assuming, like legitimately here, like assuming he beats it and comes out good on the other side. Maybe he goes and he can coach, I don't know, Arkansas State or Memphis or something down the line, right?
I think he can go and coach at that level as long as he wants to.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a guy be like, hey, the only real thing there are some people who like DJ Durkin. Durkin's done a good job with the defense. If you fire him now, that gives Durkin a lot of runway to maybe win some ball games. And we don't really want to hire DJ Durkin, but maybe there are some people in the booster thing who like him. So I don't know if I buy that. I'd be shocked if Auburn goes DJ Durkin, but I don't know. I'm not as confident on the timing of Auburn.
Got it. What about LSU?
I seem to be the only one that thinks like that could move. I don't know. Is anybody else thinking like that's going to go? But I mean, look at the remaining schedule. It's not friendly.
You seem to be the only one that's thinking that it's not going to go, or that it
will.
No,
I think I'm like the only one that, like, from looking around, nobody else seems to have Brian Kelly on like watch today.
I mean, if you don't want to have
outside of our show, like
right.
I mean, we're looking at it, we're like, guys, you got A&M and Bama next. Arkansas can probably score on you, and I mean, there's no guarantee your offense shows up. And like, are you going to score any points at Oklahoma?
Not against that defense.
Right.
Not the way they're playing right now offensively. I think that I've got Brian Kelly and LSU more on the, I don't know. I see things careening that way. It wasn't like today where I'm checking in Gainesville to say, like, what time are coaches getting to the facility? Those kinds of questions. Exactly. So that's kind of where I'm at right there. What about Wisconsin? Saw them on America's Most Watched Network, the network of stars. They had a hell of a fake punt in the fourth quarter.
That was a fake punt.
That was a awesome. I might be coaching my last game. We're pulling this out. We're just going to let this guy do it. And boy, he was hyped. Come out of a less than enthusiastic jump around, but then you get him going again with the fake punt. Happy for the sideline. Happy for the punter on that one.
I mean, if the AD fires him, is the AD firing himself?
Tough dynamic.
Kind of question I have to answer, right?
Yeah, maybe not. The Virginia Tech situation has kind of changed my tune on that, where now the university can decide to set up these search committees where the athletic director is not the one making the hire.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
We've talked a lot about we've talked a lot about that dynamic with the athletic director. We've talked a lot about, are you going to be able to fire the coach, or what's the athletic director? Is he going to want to hang on? I think that the big business of college football and a college football program has reached the point that universities are very much in the, like, let's put a committee together rather than put this all in one person's hands. I think that if they need to move, then they should be able to pull it together and move. I would think so.
So if you're Wisconsin, and we're assuming Fickle's out, right?
But again, don't know when, but
yeah,
I believe the Badgers will have a new head coach for 2026.
Yeah, there's no way this is tenable to run it back.
Correct.
At all.
Correct.
Is it Lance Leipold and then Jason Eck? Are there other obvious names that I'm missing?
I think Lance Leipold is it Occam's razor? Is that the one? Though it's like the most obvious solution is sometimes is it. Yeah, exactly. The guy who won championships at Wisconsin Whitewater might be the one who is ready to come here and like help modernize and also stabilize a Wisconsin program that love Luke Fickell, but like that program had an identity crisis under his watch. And so now they need an identity stabilizer. And I think Lance Leipold might be able to do that.
I think that's fair. He's also losing Daniel. So, if you were going to get out.
Well, yeah, you could also say that, hey, you've had a couple hot seasons at Kansas. History says that you're going to pull right down. That's a sell while the stock is high situation.
And Kansas does have a lot of new investment, so I do not expect that Kansas is going to go right back to the basement.
Right.
But they probably have more downward mobility than upward.
Yep.
Kentucky lost in overtime. That still feels like a whole lot of money to come up with, man.
Yeah.
$37 million, and a lot of it's due like now.
It doesn't feel like he's getting fired. It does not feel like there is an urge from the university to answer that question or figure that out right now.
Yeah.
So let that one play out. Any other names that we should watch for hot seat or just like general candidates as you've been thinking about this?
Colorado State lost last night, right?
Yes, they did. Jay Norvell.
Yeah, that's probably that may have run its course.
I would probably agree with you.
Petrino scored a whole lot of points on A&M, man.
I know. I think he's going to get the job.
I kind of think so too.
Yeah.
Other Florida candidates, just to put a bow on this from my perspective. Do you call Ashley?
Yeah.
Okay, I do too.
I think money would be a problem.
Because SMU would fight pretty hard.
Yeah. And
would you rather live in Highland Park or Gainesville? Yeah. I mean, come on.
And beyond that, I'm not trying to look, Rhett, I know Rhett's a huge fan of the Cover 3 podcast. So Rhett, I apologize in advance. Feel free to tell me how disrespectful this was. But when you're playing poker and you do get into like one of these bidding wars, sometimes you're just in the bidding war, but they're like, oh man, I don't know about this hand. Like,
right. If
you end up getting in a bidding war and then you win the bidding war and what you get is a Rhett Lashley, are you going to be like, oh man, I could have gotten a Lane Kiffin for this right now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's going to be money is going to be an interesting factor because as I feel like I need to remind the rest of the country, this is a university community at Southern Methodist University. That said, don't worry about giving us media rights checks for 9 years. We'll foot the bill.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right. Yeah, Kurt Cignetti ain't going anywhere. That extension at Indiana.
Yeah.
He says he wants to retire a Hoosier. I believe him. He's gonna coach. He's gonna win a whole lot of ball games, and then if he stops winning ball games, the shtick will start to wear on people, and he will have changed Indiana football forever. Everyone will be happier for it. So I'm not sending Kurt to Penn State. I'm not sending Kurt to Florida. I think that I believe him. I think he'll be at Indiana to run this thing out.
No chance Florida goes coordinator, right?
I just don't know who that would be. Will Stein.
Yeah, but I would think like Will Stein. Like, is Texas too big of a job if something went sideways with Sark? Like, he's from Texas, right?
Right.
I mean, Kirby Moore does a really nice job at Missouri, but probably not like that's like you just go get Drink, not Kirby.
This is Florida.
I know there's been some like talk about Glenn Schumann, but like he's not having a good year this year overall. Right. So
yeah, I would not be going for the coordinator. Hey, I mean, honestly, Florida State's offensive coordinator. If you're going to hire a coordinator,
I don't think he's going to be a head coach again.
Okay. Just like his own personal motivations. Like I was thinking about retiring,
Yeah, right. Exactly. I do not think he wants to deal. Like if you didn't want to deal with all the stuff that comes with being a head coach at UCF, multiply that by about $1 billion at UF.
Yep. I would agree. All right. Well, we will have much more on this coaching carousel. Very, very likely, if not guaranteed, to make an appearance on Mondays upon further review, 11 a.m. Eastern time. So if you want to go and check it out, and you can follow him on Twitter at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow me at Chip _Patterson. Bud, thank you very much.
See you, Chip.